Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful time in this Christmas season, guys. I love it. We got some crazy news, guys. Leaked out news where Trump is literally taking the next steps and trying to secure funding for buying Greenland, which would be the largest U.S. territory acquisition ever. Guys, this is huge. There's a reason now where we're seeing where Trump wants to not only cut the spending, but also wants to use the extra money to expand the United States like never before. Guys, this is big, big news being reported by the New York Post. We also have it where Time Magazine is saying that this second Trump administration will change the domestic and world order with the next things I'm about to tell you guys. It is getting insanely huge, the plans that Trump is trying to push forward to not only mark himself as one of the greatest presidents ever, but to truly make America the greatest that it's ever been. So with that, the leaked news of purchasing the Greenland, using the money saved through the tax cuts, they've already found over $1 trillion in savings. Now with the Panama Canal, what he wants to do is use and fund and put a lot of tariffs that anybody going through the Panama Canal, which, guys, billions, hundreds of billions of dollars every single year go through the Panama Canal. He wants to acquire it, use that money to then fund the purchase of Greenland as well as the Panama Canal itself. So this plan is getting insanely huge and it's getting insanely real. Not only that, he also says that he's going to be officially withdrawing us from the World Health Organization. Remember, these are the same people that said if we wore a mask, we couldn't spread COVID. Well, that was a lie. And there's no way that the COVID came from a lab. That was a lie too as well. The U.S. contributes $1.2 billion a year to this organization. $1.2 billion towards Greenland, Panama Canal. Guys, it's insane. We also just found out big spending leaks. Guys, this is huge. It just leaked that the United States used $17 million of taxpayer money to pay off people over sexual misconduct and harassment within Congress. So congressmen and congresswomen were harassing people or whatnot, and they filed lawsuits, and they literally used our taxpayer money to hush them up and to make it go away. You can't make this crap up. I'm about to show you guys. This is getting insane. Also, Trump said he's going to reverse all of Joe Biden's pardons for all the death row inmates. He said these are the worst out there. There's a reason why they're on death row. There's a reason why they've already been through all the court cases, and the courts have decided that they're 100% guilty. So, also, Trump and Senator Rand Paul are now saying that Dr. Fauci should be in jail, and they're going to be investigating him over his participation with the gain of function and holding him accountable to the American people for what he said and what he did. Guys, I'm telling you, tons of breaking news. The Democrats are crumbling with what you're about to see next. There's literally an implosion happening. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we might not even have the Democratic Party. But just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button as my Christmas gift if you don't mind. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. I appreciate it so much. I'm here to serve y'all every single day with the top news. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel. If you want to join, the link is in the description to join, and we're so excited for you to be with us. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation. We're so grateful for your support and us giving back to charities. And we'll be having our charity video going out later today to show you our biggest donation ever. And thank you so much, Chip Trapp, for the super chat. He said, I like Trump's Green New Deal better than Biden's Green New Deal. Let's go. Y'all show Chip some love in the chat. But guys, I'm telling you, the Democrats are imploding, and Trump is about to get a huge win with what you're about to see next, guys. Check it out.
And former Democrat Joe Manchin went so far as to call the Democratic Party toxic. Watch.
I am not a Democrat in the form of what the Democratic Party has turned itself into, the national brand. Absolutely not.
Is it a shift on social issues?
Yeah, the brand got so bad. The D brand has been so maligned from the standpoint it's toxic.
And Senator Manchin is not the only one calling out the Democratic Party. ESPN host Stephen A. Smith said he already regrets backing Kamala and could be open to voting Republican in the future. Take a look.
I voted Democrat, and I got to tell you something right now. I don't like the fact that I did. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't want to hear about, oh, we're about law, we're about a law. Nobody's above the law. Nobody's above the law. But then you go out and you pardon your son. And I'm no longer interested in, nor do I believe any of us should be interested in listening to a bunch of fear-mongering to tell us who we shouldn't vote for. Why don't you come up with a plan that tells us why we should vote for you? That's what I'm interested in. And if Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Byron Donald, Marco Rubio, or the host of other Republican candidates coming down the pike, that's the kind of message that they're going to put forth, I'm down for it. I'm open-minded enough to make sure that I entertain that from a policy perspective.
Here with reaction, Fox News contributors Charlie Hurt and Ari Fleischer, along with Stagwell Chairman and CEO Mark Penn. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. Look, Stephen A. Smith very recently voted for Kamala Harris. John Fetterman won 2 years ago for Senate. And since then, both Donald Trump won Pennsylvania and Dave McCormick's the new senator there. Charlie Hurt, is this a recognition that the Democratic Party has no message, no messenger, no leader? Or are they hearing from their constituents that these Democrats better get on board with the Trump agenda and make some significant changes?
Trump agenda, baby.
I would like to think that they're just sort of doing what they think is best, but I imagine you're probably right, Kellyanne, that they're probably hearing from voters and getting very nervous about how far out of touch they've gotten. And, you know, when you sit back and kind of think about this, you know, the Democrat Party has every institutional advantage at their fingertips. They have the media, they have the big tech companies, they have Hollywood, everything is on their side. And yet, still, after all of those internal advantages, you have a guy like Donald Trump with his America First agenda come along, and he was able to expose all of it. And
all
it is
of it,
true.
baby.
The Democrat Party has become this toxic party of hatred and the lack of inclusivity and the complete lack of tolerance, the hatred for half of the country. And it's now the Republican Party under Donald Trump that is the big tent that's welcoming to and open to ideas and has basically all the interesting, forward-looking ideas. And so I think that they're all starting to, the sheen has come off, and the Democrat Party is losing all of those advantages. Despite all those advantages, they're still losing the big fight because of the way Donald Trump has remade the Republican Party.
Yes.
And Ari, of course, Charlie's right.
Guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but again, too, remember, the old school Republicans are out the door. It is MAGA now. And that's what they're saying. Literally, the Democrats are done. Just like the old Republicans are done, the Democrats are done. We're probably going to see a new party, but I'm telling you, I love it. We've got a new party called MAGA.
All of the adjuncts of the left-wing movement belong to the Democratic Party, the media and Hollywood, but it feels like it's changing in the tech community, that faith is now in fashion in Hollywood, that some of these tech giants are going down to see President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, donating his inauguration, saying, how can we help with crypto and AI and all the policies? But Ari, tell me what you think the best, what we can anticipate, your best guess as to what the relationship will be between the mainstream media and the Trump administration and White House this time. Any different?
Sure, and you can add to that group, but beyond the media and beyond Hollywood is academia. Academia hasn't cracked one bit. It is the most left-wing organization throughout America. As for the media, yeah, it is fascinating because Donald Trump does not really need the mainstream media. And the mainstream media, if they behave toward him the way they did in 2017, his first year in office, he can ignore them all. They were just there to be antagonistic. They were not there to cover the news. They were not there to be fair to the new president of the United States. They were there to be a part of the resistance. And they were rewarded for it. They got contracts to go on cable TV shows. Their Twitter followers boomed. And their editors asked them to become even more activist. Trump broke that. And he created a new model, and I hope he really takes advantage of that new model. I hope he changes the briefing room. I see no reason to have the mainstream media have the seats that they used to have in the front of the room where they dominated the room. That room should be dominated by new thinkers, new generation of reporters
TrueLife.
in tune with how people get their news today. Donald Trump's got a chance to do that, and he's going to be able to be tremendously influential in getting his message out because he thinks differently.
It's
Guys,
fascinating.
I'm telling you. So I'm super excited, everybody. Like, with Trump going through, guys, this is getting so serious. About buying Greenland will be the largest U.S. territory acquisition ever. I just showed you that Trump right here. This is one of the funniest memes ever. But I want to show you this real quick. So President Trump officially will withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization, calling it a corrupt globalist scheme funded by American taxpayers, 100%. And this is, somebody built this. This is the funniest thing ever. This is Trump purchasing, like Amazon, Canada, Greenland, and Panama Canal, guys. This is what Trump does, guys. I think that 100% we're at least going to get one of these, maybe even two, because everything that they're doing is to save money, and what I'm about to show you next, save money and make acquisitions so that we can acquire and grow the United States, making us the greatest. We're already the greatest country, but this would solidify Trump as the greatest president ever. And what I love too, again, the media is melting, guys. Check this out.
You see all of this. Here's, Captain Potato Head. He's not even Mr. Potato Head. He's the captain of the Potato Head. All right, Brian Stelter, a total life loser. I'm convinced this guy's had all kinds of problems in his life. He looks like an emotionally disturbed guy. He's the kind of guy I keep far away from people. He's just a weirdo. Here's Brian Stelter, whose show was hilariously called Reliable Sources, yet was wrong about every single major media news story of our time surrounding Donald Trump. Here he is attacking you for pointing out that the commander-in-chief's not mentally all there. Check this out.
But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work. They didn't do any of their own work at all. They just ate it up, and then they regurgitated what the Wall Street Journal said. That's the worst form of so-called journalism out there. It's not really news at all. And that's my biggest complaint about this. Yeah. They said this could be an election decider, Joe Biden's age. Well, that's true if the media obsesses over it and ignores Trump's flaws. That will be true if the media puts its fists on the scale.
Now, there's this schism going on I haven't addressed in about a month. It's real, folks, on the left. Our job here is to tactically break down our political opponents so we understand in the art of political warfare how to outflank them and win. That's what we're here for, to win, right? We're not here for moral victories. That doesn't mean squat. We need votes. I'm a spreadsheet guy, and you are too. Some of them are figuring it out. Now, this is not a reflection of me celebrating anyone here. I want you to understand that. When I play these clips, like AOC coming up next, not to say, oh, AOC smart. AOC is the single dumbest member of Congress. She is. There's not even a close second. Dan Goldman. But Dan Goldman has nothing on AOC. However, there is one thing AOC, even really, really stupid people can typically do at least one thing well. AOC does social media well. She does. And she has a lot of followers, folks. It's just a fact. I'm a spreadsheets guy. You ignore it at your own peril. AOC understands that is the new media market. People are getting their news from TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, X, Truth, Rumble, YouTube. They're not getting it from the old school media. There is a growing portion of the Democrat Party. The only reason I bring this up is this tactical advantage we have where Brian Stelter, Nicole Wallace, and Mayorkas are still puzzled why nobody pays attention to them if they lie. It's going to change. Don't get caught blindsided. Here's AOC. She's sensing that if there's not a big change in the Democrat Party in terms of information exchange and getting out there like she does, that the party may be obsolete. Watch this.
It is really hard for a lot of, I think, Democrats to wrap their head around the current media environment that we are in. And there's still like this really big attachment to the idea that CNN, MSNBC, the op-ed, pages of the New York Times are where swing voters are and where everyday people are. And as we saw from the election, people who, if you ascribe to that kind of a media diet, you are overwhelmingly supporting Democrats. But there has, for a very long, and this was actually part of what part of what I was trying to offer the party is also part of what I think had cut against me in this race, which is that there's this idea that having this, not among all Democrats, but I think among more of the old guard, that having that kind of resonance and responsiveness is gauche and lowbrow and unsophisticated.
There's a reason I played that. Yes, the woman is a moron. I understand that. Low aptitude, low achievement. She is an imbecile. I was told early on when I started my podcast in 2015, what she said at the end is absolutely accurate. The Democrats are 10 years late, but I was told even by Republicans, because I don't want you to think people in our party are above this either. They were like, a podcast? What are you, a dumb? Can't get a radio show? What kind of loser are you? I said, well, you're kind of a moron. Radio shows are great. I mean, I have one now and I love radio shows. The audience is really healthy. But, you know, kids can go in the car and Bluetooth, and this is 10 years ago. I'm telling people about Apple CarPlay and Bluetooth. And there were people like, well, what the hell does that mean? I said, podcasts are the future. Yes. The Democrats are 10 years late, but they're catching up. Even Foreign Policy magazine, we're talking about an old guard outlet. They're talking about, in this thing, how the world of podcasts and social media programming, they can reach large and extremely loyal audiences. I mean, the reason I bring it up, it may sound a bit self-serving, but they're talking about how progressives don't have this robust menu of programs. Their words, you can read them right there.
Nope.
They have basically Pod Save America, and that's it. They know we have Rogan, Shapiro, Tucker, Matt Walsh, Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, and others. They're going to catch up.
Hey, throw TrueLife.
So it's time for us to do what? It is time for us to take what we have and now leverage up. Here's an old guard media guy, right? This Axios guy, Jim Vanderheim. Remember the one who exploded? You're not the media journalist. We got to go do our homework. If you did your homework, you would have known Joe Biden wasn't cognitively, mentally impaired. If you'd done your homework, you'd know the laptop was Hunter's. If you'd done your homework, you'd know collusion was a BS story. You didn't do your homework. Remember that? So this is the same guy, Jim Vanderheim. His post-meltdown. He knows the tide has turned and that the home for news right now is X. The home for video is Rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing is changing. I'm telling you, get on that train or it's going to run you over. It's coming. Check this out.
We have never been here before. And Jim Vanderheim, you've got new reporting out this morning for Axios about the government funding fight and how it captures the power and flaws of what you call the new information ecosystem, which is, in many ways, Elon Musk and X.
I mean, this is your future foretold. You might like it, you might hate it, but it is. Like, you now have Musk controlling the dominant organ of the Republican media industrial complex. There's nothing close.
They're freaking out because they can no longer control the narrative. Community notes on X has been one of the ultimate weapons because there's now a penalty for lying where you're embarrassed in real time. And they don't like that because they lie all the time. And one thing they don't want to be is embarrassed. Here's this liberal congressman, Richard Neal, on the House floor, totally freaking out. Your currency is your word. He's all upset that Elon and X exposed that disastrous CR bill and all the garbage in it. There was crap everywhere buried in that bill. And he knows going forward, these Democrats know going forward, they're not going to be able to do this anymore. That all of this stuff is going to get out right away. Your currency is your word, he says. You know, the Democrats were the ones who pulled that judge deal right after Trump got elected for liberal judges to retire. They're full of crap. Their word doesn't mean anything. These people are full of it. Check this out.
Your currency in this institution is your word. We reached an agreement. We came to modest achievements. And a tweet changed all of it?
Yes.
Can you imagine what the next 2 years are going to be like if every time the Congress works its will and then there's a tweet or from an individual who has no official portfolio who threatens members on the Republican side with a primary and they succumb?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds like exactly what we needed. I mean, what's the alternative? Think about what he's arguing for on the counter. He's arguing for what? That we hide this stuff and don't put it on Twitter. It's there. These bills are released to the public for all of us to read. Would you rather Twitter be banned from speaking publicly about public legislation in a constitutional republic? Do you see how afraid these guys are of the truth? You see all of this.
They are so afraid of the truth. They're so afraid of what you're about to see next, guys. I'm telling you. So this came out, guys, this investigation, they've been trying to hide it. It finally came out from Congress, guys. This is about as crazy as you could get, that you would never see what you're about to see coming from Thomas Massie on regular media, guys. This is what you get on TrueLife News. This is the stuff they'll never show you, but it's the dang truth. So if you haven't liked the video yet, please hit that thumbs up like button. Please check this out.
You know, Congress has paid over $17 million in hush money for sexual misconduct inside of the offices in these buildings.
God.
And what's more is that was taxpayer money, right? The allegation is that President Trump paid $130,000 of his own money. But here in Congress, there may be some on this dais. I mean, I'm for turning loose all of these records. Who in here has had the taxpayer pay for their sexual misconduct charges the hush money? I bet there's some over there. There may be some over here. I don't know, but I do know it's taxpayer money, and I do know not a single penny of it has been turned in as a campaign finance expense. Is the FEC going to investigate the $17 million that Congress has paid to settle, behind closed doors these sexual misconduct allegations?
Congressman,
guys, you can't make this crap up. Like, I had no idea. But in digging for the truth and showing y'all the truth, we've literally paid $17 million for hush money to make things go away for Congress. Guys, that is our money. And then they want to try to go after Trump for $130,000 of his own money? Guys, you cannot make this up. It is so insane what we're seeing. What I love too is there is a proponent who's really fighting for it. Our boy Rand Paul, he's really coming out of the news right now over his Festivus report. Check this out, guys. You're going to love this.
Biden's wild spending spree exposed in Senator Rand Paul's 10th annual Festivus report, showing the more than $1 trillion in government waste. Making the list this year, of course, you got to have your Sesame Street show in Iraq, a multi-million-dollar pickleball complex.
Sorry, guys. I want to pause this because this is super important, and they're going to go by it real quick. The United States taxpayer put money into our taxes. The government decided that we needed to give Iraq $20 million to build their version of Sesame Street show in Iraq called Alan Simpson. Can you believe this? $20 million to have a Sesame Street show in Iraq. $10.8 million for Orwellian cat experiment at the University of Pittsburgh. $2.1 million on the border security for Paraguay. Not our border, guys, for Paraguay. $12 million on a Las Vegas pickleball complex. $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil. And then the NEA awarded $10,000 to support climate change-focused drag cabaret show on ice. Yes, we paid for dudes to dress up like women and do a drag show on ice, $10,000. You can't make this stuff up. Thank you so much. What's new? Appreciate you so much that I absolutely love this channel. Thank you, Joel. Y'all show What's New some love in the chat, everybody.
In Las Vegas, a drag cabaret show on ice, and of course, border security for ... Paraguay. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul joins us now. Senator, this is an annual list you do. You've got a lot of problems with government people, to quote Seinfeld further. How tough is it to target and find the entries on this list?
You know, I got a lot of problems with big spenders in both parties. And here's the thing, everywhere you look, you find more of this stuff. $1 trillion, that means we found a lot of waste. But it's everywhere. It's in all the big departments, in the Department of State. It's in NIH. It's in the National Science Foundation. And people wonder, why does it exist every year? We have this Department of Doge. Are they going to be able to get rid of it? Well, the only way to get rid of it is to spend less money.
Yes.
So if you give the National Science Foundation $4 billion one year and then you increase it to $8 billion, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that you're going to get more waste, not less. This has been going on since the 70s, but it has exploded. But you have to be willing to cut spending for the overall department. NIH will have more waste if you give them more money. They spent $3 million studying what kids do when they look at ads for food on Facebook. So they had a whole bunch of kids look at ads for food on Facebook, and that was $3 million worth. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to drill holes into cats' head, spin them around rapidly, and study motion sickness. Sounds more like animal cruelty than it actually sounds like an experiment, but the list goes on and on.
And that's not to mention, I mean, you have stolen COVID relief funds, $8 million. One guy from Florida did it to buy an island. You mentioned the cat. The list does go on and on, but you also alluded to this, Senator. Do you think your tradition ends this year? In other words, is this the year that Doge eliminates the need for you to go through and make this list because they've done it over the course of the intervening 365 days?
Ultimately, it takes Congress. Congress has to get rid of the spending. Doge can point out the spending problems and the waste the same way I've been pointing it out. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. So I am very hopeful that Doge will draw attention to this the same way I've been drawing attention to it. But I'll give you an example. About a year ago, there was a chips bill, a bill to subsidize microchips, semiconductors in the United States. Well, in that bill, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation. Now, the National Science Foundation is the one that's famous for doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila, and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. That's the National Science Foundation. Most of the terrible, wasteful projects, the crazy stuff and experiments that are going on is National Science Foundation. In the CHIPS bill, all the Democrats and half the Republicans voted to double the size of the National Science Foundation. So why is there more waste? Because the idiots in Congress keep giving them more money.
Well, it will be interesting to see again what happens when Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. Very different from what we've experienced the last 96 hours in Congress. Will this waste go away? Will you be needed on Christmas Eve next year? We will see. Senator Rand Paul.
Guys, let's go. Change is coming. Richard Carver, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Richard some love in the chat. Guys, I'm telling you, this is the thing. The more and more that we hear about all this Doge wasteful spending, check this out. The Doge Department of Government Efficiency posted, it's not a tweet anymore because that was Twitter. It's a post now that we're on X. What they stated earlier, State Department, $2.1 billion on border security for another country, $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq. The National Endowment for Arts awarded the Bearded Ladies Cabaret a $10,000 grant to support a show on ice skates. It is literally, like, guys, this stuff triggers me. I don't know about you, but it triggers me because we work so hard for our money, and yet they spend it on the most ridiculous things ever. And now we've got more news from what Vivek, who's one of the co-leaders of Doge, and what he's planning to do and why they're going about it the way that they are. Check this out.
I'm going to be very precise and unforgiving and not mince words with that language. My goal is not to provoke for the sake of provoking, but nor is it to compromise or shave around a message to say it the right way for making it more palatable either. And so I don't know if that's going to be electorally successful. But when I say merit, it's not a dog whistle for anything else other than unapologetic merit. So if you're in the way of merit, be it an equity-based agenda or otherwise, we're running straight through you. And I think that we're going to be very clear about the fact that the best person is going to get the job again in this country. The best kids are going to get to college again in this country. And the best means different things in different settings. There's not one hierarchy of best, right? The people who are best at a four-year liberal arts college like Harvard that I went to or whatever might be very different than the people who are going to be going through 2-year programs to learning how to be a welder or a carpenter or a mechanic. And in some ways, part of what we miss in this country, actually part of the mistake of meritocracy or some of the pro-merit camp, there's not one pro-merit camp. Sometimes you get it wrong, is you fetishize the one axis of meritocracy, forgetting that there are many axes of meritocracy. And speaking like on a first personal sense, I told you achievement was my ticket to get ahead, but you know what? My path cannot be and should not be the only path in this country. So I guess like when I think about how do I get that to land in this country, one is without mincing words and without apologizing for it. That's the part that's going to be unsparing. But I think the part that I'm hopeful will allow the message to land more broadly anyway is not attenuating the spirit of what I'm saying by one bit, but to highlight the fact that we might just be short-sighted in the way we think about merit. And there's many ways to be meritorious in this country, but we've fallen into the trap that thinking there's only a one-dimensional axis to actually earning dignity and honor and respect in our country.
Man, I love these
when
two
in
guys
fact there
right
are
here.
so many roads that this country at its best ought to or should offer. You wonder why we have a worker shortage. Part of the reason is it's a closed-minded conception of merit that says it runs through four-year college degrees alone. And so I hope the combination of those two things allows me to both avoid having to kind of compromise and do like a mealy-mouthed, you know, everybody be happyism to the message. I'm not going to do that, but also actually understand the truth of it is that merit is plural, actually allows it to reach more people and bring more people along. I guess that's what I'm hopeful for, but we'll find out.
Guys, I'm telling you, that like the amount of people that they're bringing around to truly make America the greatest it's ever been. Guys, these guys like Mike Rowe, Vivek, they're amazing. Our boy Scott Jennings, which I'm about to show you. But thank you so much, Richard Carver, again with the super chat. Hey, it's a season of giving, right? Great. He said, good job. Appreciate you, brother. Y'all show Richard some love in the chat. Guys, I'm telling you, I love the Christmas time is my favorite because giving, I love to give. Giving is my favorite. Check this out.
Wait a minute. You're not going to let me. You're not going to. It takes Maria 5 minutes to define what the Democratic brand is, and you don't let me respond to it after I show up on time on Christmas Eve. This is an insult that will not be forgotten, Kate. I promise you.
I just bought you 30 seconds just because I'm feeling
Maria,
the Christmas
she
spirit.
filibustered me. She filibustered me out of the conversation here.
Stop talking
Okay,
and
well,
go.
I'll tell you. It took Maria 5 minutes. Here's 10 seconds. Democrats are the party of uncommon nonsense. Republicans are the party of common sense. It's why our tent right now is full of such a wide ideological spectrum. People are flocking to the Republicans because we stand for common sense.
Yeah.
And Democrats have taken on all this uncommon fringe nonsense. And if they are in the toilet, my advice, flush away the fringe and the people who have drug you down there, because this is why Republicans won the election.
Boom, baby. Guys, I love it, dude. I love how he literally calls them out like nobody's business, and they sit there like, what? You can't say that about us. You dang straight we can, because y'all, the craziness that we've seen about Biden and Kamala Harris and all this is insane. But I want to go back to this, guys, because there's more information on the government waste, and it's just insane, guys. In 1 year, $1 trillion wasted of taxpayer money, and yet the Democrats wanted to raise taxes again this next year. You must be out of your dang mind if they think that the Americans were going to fall for that. Check this out.
Senator Rand Paul is out with his annual Festivus report on outrageous government waste. This year, the report lists $1 trillion of taxpayer money spent on some truly bizarre pet projects, like $10,000 that was given to the Bearded Ladies Cabaret to fund ice skating shows about climate change. $32,000 was spent on breakdancing. Nearly $500,000 was spent to determine if lonely rats seek out cocaine more than happy rats. Another $2 million was paid for Paraguayan border security, because who needs a secure U.S. border anyway? $12 million to fund a pickleball complex in Las Vegas. $20 million to air a Sesame Street spinoff about inclusion and mutual respect, not here in the U.S., but in Iraq. and $10 billion on maintaining, leasing, and furnishing almost entirely empty buildings.
Empty.
Ghost towns on your dime. And all of this wasteful spending brings to mind this Trump tweet from 2014. He wrote, quote, "I hope we never find life on another planet, because if we do, there's no doubt that the United States will start sending them money." Hilarious tweet. Kennedy, I rarely give myself this much credit, but I am going to blow your mind away with this fact, courtesy of Google. We're talking about $1 trillion in government waste. If you were to spend $1 million every day, it would take you over 2,700 years to spend $1 trillion. That is how bloated government spending has become.
It is, but I would love to try.
I know, how fun.
How much fun would that be?
Can I be a part of that?
Yes. We can get our G7 and fly to Paris and just start shopping. This is awful, but it's very important. So the reason Senator Paul does this, and it's, there have been a long line of cost-cutting senators like Tom Coburn, who is no longer with us, who highlight the absurd things that the government spends money on. That means that someone somewhere looks at these things, thinks about it, and just approves it. Like the lonely cocaine rats.
Yes.
It's like, do happy rats like to get into Hunter's stash? Well, no, they prefer an Aperol Spritz this time of year, but it's, and there were other things about animals and bearded ladies and nonsense. And there are massive government depots where billions and billions of dollars go that never see the light of day because we don't talk about it. But this is a perfect tee-up for Doge, and I hope they're working hand in glove with Senator Paul.
Totally. And maybe the rats were the culprits that left the cocaine in the White House.
Could be.
And we're just learning this now.
I think I know
Come
who it
full
is.
circle on this administration. So, Kaylee, Republicans are going to control the House, the Senate, and the White House come January. So do you think anything will change when it comes to government spending?
This is the problem. I think that Doge has a very important task ahead of it, but the Biden administration isn't pulling this money out of thin air. It is being funded and approved by the people who sit in Congress, our lawmakers. And many of these are personal pork projects that they take back to their constituents and claim that they're doing things with. So if there's going to be real reform, it has to start there. And it actually has to start with us, the United States taxpayers, holding their feet to the fire and demanding some more fiscal responsibility from the people in charge.
Totally. And actually, Rand Paul, Lisa, was on Fox and Friends this morning, and he said that. He says, I'm going to call out my own party as well. I don't like big spenders on both sides of the aisle. What we need to do is stop giving these government entities so much money. It sounds so simple, and yet it never changes.
Also, what government employee is ice skating drag queens? That's what we need.
That's where money needs to go.
It's like woke there's drag queen. Yeah, the taxpayers will love this.
Yeah,
exactly what we should do. It's golden.
This will get me reelected.
But so cutting $2 trillion of spending, which is what Doge wants to do, it is noble what Elon and Vivek want to do. But we're just talking about just covering the interest on the debt alone.
Yeah.
That's how bad it has gone. And if you're an American citizen and your credit cards are maxed out, you're in a state of panic. Why doesn't our government have that same state of panic for where we are right now? So, things have gotten that bad at this point. And, thankfully, Rand Paul just laid out $1 trillion. Elon and Vivek, there's your $1 trillion. Now you just need to find $1 trillion more.
Yeah, cut
There's
that.
Ample opportunities,
Cut
my
that
friends.
spending bill down from 1,500 pages to 118. So here are a couple more, Griff, from the Festivus report. Over $7 million of taxpayer funds are being spent on, quote, various magical projects. I mean, it sounds cartoonish. It's like
guys.
too unbelievable to be true, but it is. And then there's also around $3 million of taxpayer money used to empower little girls in Brazil to become climate leaders. It's almost like they think it's monopoly money, but it's our taxpayer dollars.
Well, Greta Thunberg can't be happy about that. But can I just have a differing opinion on the rats and cocaine? If you watch... If you watch Cocaine Bear, we know what happens when bears get into cocaine. There was a story about sharks. I wouldn't mind knowing how rats behave after a really bad break, just to know how dangerous that might be. But on a serious note, I remember for Hannity years ago, he sent me to Johnstown, Pennsylvania, to the just created by the late Democrat Congressman John Murtha, created an airport. The now named John Murtha Johnstown, Pennsylvania airport, literally for one flight a day to Washington and Johnstown, his district. He created an entire airport. And I think it's still in existence today with minimal flights, but it just shows you, before that, there was the bridge to nowhere in Alaska, and no one ever reined in lawmakers' ability to tap these people. And in many cases, like with these projects, it's a nameless, unelected bureaucrats that are like, you know what might be a good idea? Let's test rats on cocaine. Give us $1 million. No one reined it in.
They also had the kittens on the merry-go-round to see if young female kittens.
The shrimp on the
no,
treadmill.
that was a treadmill. But this also, Senator Paul had kittens, like female kittens, on a merry-go-round to see if they got dizzy.
But there's consequences to this spending. Americans have just gone through this election cycle with inflation. That's why they've been feeling this kind of pain because of this kind of spending.
Bingo. So, and I like Donald Trump's tweet, the one that I read at the top. And maybe he needs to talk to Elon Musk about like cutting back on that plan to go to Mars, because if he does find green people, we're going to be sending them our green dollars. Oh my gosh.
Guys, let me tell you this. The amount of waste that we're finding, is it not correlated with the amount of craziness that we are seeing just across the Democratic spectrum? And a lot of Republicans too. Trust me. Don't get me wrong. The Republicans put a lot of the government waste and the what's it called? All the debt in there as well. They voted on it. They could have stood against it. They didn't. But even with what I'm about to show you next, guys. So Governor Hochul actually made the comment, I made the subway safe. This is a chart going back to before 2000 of the homicides that happened in New York subways. And look, in the past 4 years, they've gone up exponentially, and especially this year. And what I hate is that there's the tragic thing that happened in the New York subway, and it just breaks my heart because, again, too, when we look at Americans that are losing their lives, or we look at families that are being devastated, never going to be the same again, we need change more than ever, 100%. Check this out.
New York City. An illegal immigrant is accused of lighting a woman on fire on a New York City subway train and watching her burn alive. Sources tell Fox's Bill Malugin he was an illegal immigrant from Guatemala who was deported during the Trump administration and re-entered the country at some point, evading Border Patrol when he crossed the second time. But remember, we were all told under oath by Secretary Mayorkas and others, the border was secure. And now we're being told that the subways of New York City are safe. New York Governor Kathy Hochul posted on X just hours after the murder, congratulating herself on her efforts to make the subway system safer. She literally could not be any more out of touch. Hochul probably regrets that post, or at least the timing of it. She was called out on it by everyone from New York Congressman Richie Torres to incoming Trump border czar Tom Homan. Homan also took time recently to promise that the thousands of children who have come over the border under Biden and Harris and just disappeared into the country will be found and accounted for. Let's hear more about that from the man himself. Tom Homan, incoming border czar, joins us right now. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. I don't think anybody's on TV more these days, and I don't think it's important for anybody to be on TV as much as you explaining what you plan on doing day one. Let's talk specifically about your promise to solve the problem that Alejandro Mayorkas and Biden Harris created, which is these missing children. Tell us what you can do and will do.
Well, that's going to be the most difficult part of it. Like President Trump gave me 3 priorities, right? He secure the border, run a deportation operation, and find these children, 340,000 missing children. It's going to be a tough job because what this administration has done. Whistleblowers from Health and Human Services are saying that many of the sponsors weren't fingerprinted and weren't properly vetted. The way we find people, like you and I, we both have a digital footprint, right? We own homes, we drive cars, we have a driver's license, we pay bills, we pay utilities. So there's a footprint out there, digital footprint for you and I. Children don't have a footprint, which means we got to, count on the footprint for the adults or the unvetted sponsors. And if they're not properly vetted, if they're not properly fingerprinted, then we're starting out in a bad place. That's why we're going to bring in a lot of the civil organizations around the country, private organizations that have been working this child trafficking issue for the last several years. We're also going to count on American people. We're going to establish 1-800 number and ask the American people to help us out. Parents have an innate ability to see something that's not right. whether it's a child in a workplace or a child with an adult, it just doesn't seem right. We're going to ask American people to step up and take notice. See something, say something, contact us. And if one phone call out of 1,000 saves a child from sex trafficking or forced labor, then that's one life saved. So it's going to be a daunting task, but we're going to give it everything we got.
You know, Tom, I appreciate you talking about that because in the first term where we worked together, what did the left constantly criticize us for? That these children and many of their parents are trying to escape injustices in their home countries and come here. And you're telling me that the children who came here may have been brought here by coyotes, by folks who, God forbid, harmed them in some way, and then we don't even know what's happened to them when they're here. It's very difficult to justify that somehow they escaped tough circumstances, and now we as a nation, the richest, most powerful nation in the world, can't find these kids. Is there something going on beyond the incompetence and the epidemic of just looking the other way from the Biden-Harris-Mayorkas administration? Or do you think there was something more systemic happening here that these kids are just missing?
Well, look, we know that over 500,000 children were trafficked in this country under Joe Biden's and Alejandro Mayorkas' overwatch. And we know that many of these children are going to be in sex trafficking and labor trafficking. This is just not Tom Homan's opinion. I mean, done this for 3.5 decades. ICE has already found many of these children in factories, cleaning up entrails in a meatpacking plant in the midnight shift. We found some living with predators. So, you know, I think this, and the biggest shock of them all is the secretary for HHS, Becerra. He's on stage bragging about how quick they take these children in custody and release them. They release them at record pace, he says, because one thing that this administration is concerned about, the only thing they were concerned about is the optics of this historic illegal immigration crisis. If there's no overcrowding, then there's nothing to see here. So that's why they released these children without proper vetting. They stopped the DNA testing. They stopped the proper vetting. Under the Trump administration, we had DNA testing. We vetted everybody in the household, not just a sponsor, but anybody that lived in the household to make sure there wasn't a gang member, a child predator living in that household. So this isn't incompetence. This isn't mismanagement. This is by design. This is about moving as many people in this country as possible because they see a future political benefit in all this. Do I think they meant to put children's harm way? I don't know that. I have my suspicions, but what they did is harming hundreds of thousands of children. And I tell you right now, some of these children we're never going to find. Some of these children are dead. Some of these children are living a life of hell every day, but we're going to do everything we can to rescue as many as we can and get them back to their families. We'll deal with the immigration consequences later. We got to get these kids back with their families, and we got to make sure they're protected.
It's unspeakable. So you've talked a lot about what you're going to do on day one and week one and month one. I'd like you to project forward a similar question that I asked Senator Hagerty from the Senate perspective. To Tom Homan, our border czar, what would qualify as success to you 100 days in, 1 year, 2 years in? What does that look like?
Such a good question.
That the border is secure, that the crossings on the border are at a historic lows they were against Trump, and it won't take long. We already did it once. We just got to dust off those planes. We won't need Mexico to get in the Remain in Mexico program, but President Trump's a strong president. He'll get them to agree to it. We're going to shut down the CBP-1 app and the CHMV program that bring thousands of illegal aliens to our airports in the United States. In the CBP-1 app, thousands come to a port of entry. Same illegal alien population, where they created these programs they call legal pathways, which aren't legal, just to break illegal aliens up in 3 buckets so they can say, well, the Border Patrol's catching less. They're catching less because you're moving thousands through these other two programs. So securing the border, and also under the deportation operation, right out of the gate, we're going to concentrate and prioritize public safety threats and national security threats. So we want to arrest as many gang members and public safety threats that the Biden administration released in this country, as many as we can, especially criminal alien gangs like Tren de Agua and MS-13. And then finally, we got to start working on these children. And again, it's the most difficult task, but we're going to start day one. Again, working with private organizations, work with every American. We're going to deputize every American in this country to help us find these kids. So if we find one child, that's a success. We saved a life. But I'm hoping to find as many as possible. So that's the goal we want. And then we're not going to stop. We got 4 years to do this. We're going to remove every public safety threat, every national security threat, every gang member, every fugitive that had due process at great taxpayer expense were ordered removed by a federal judge but failed to leave. We got 1.7 million of them. We got 750,000 convicted criminal illegal aliens. We got a big task ahead of us, but the men and women of ICE, they're patriots. We're going to get this done.
And you're calling for the private sector and we the people to help out as well, Tom, and giving us direction and granularity, which is so helpful. And you're telling the country right now, Tom Homan, that long before Joe Biden was showing depravity towards human life, a lack of common sense and compassion by commuting these death row sentences to life without parole, he was looking the other way and allowing these kids to be harmed and to come here and to go missing, 340,000 of them. Tom Homan, thank you so much. God bless you and your family.
I'm telling you, I'm so excited for the new administration. I'm so excited for what we're about to see. I want to show you some people have been putting out some thoughts for the new name of Greenland. Because look, I showed you earlier, Trump is so serious. There's already talks. They're trying to put money back. They're trying to save money with all the cuts and the spending to buy Greenland, being the largest U.S. territory acquisition ever. Guys, this is getting real. And we've got, tell me, what do y'all vote for? We got Orange Land, named after Orange Land, or we've got Huge Land, formerly Greenland. Let me know your thoughts. Just want to say thank you so much to Richard Carver. He said, your hard work truly surpasses even Next News. Please know how deeply we appreciate you and your dedication you bring each day. You make a real difference and it doesn't go unnoticed. Richard, you are so kind, brother. Appreciate you so much. And thank you so much, Surgical Wizard. He said, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Y'all show Richard and Surgical Wizard some love in the chat. Guys, we couldn't do this without y'all. Guys, when like y'all's comments and your kind words, y'all, this is truly a dream to be able to come here every single day and serve you all with the top news. And I couldn't do it without you. Me and my family are so grateful. And hopefully you've seen, we'll be posting tonight around 7 o'clock our giving video that we did if you missed it. Because remember, guys, we take this money that you give in the super chats and when you pay to be a member of the channel, we donate it. We gave our biggest donation ever this past Saturday to Christmas for Christ. And guys, it's such a wonderful organization that helps to start local churches and to help change people's lives. I'm telling you, it's what like we've given to Wounded Warriors, we've given to Samaritan's Purse, we've given to Isaiah 117 House. Every single month, we're going to give back with this channel. I believe in giving back. I always believe in creating that circle that it never stops with me. It never stops with my family. That I truly believe that God blesses us so that we can bless others. And I want to give some shout outs to Paul Fredrickson, Chip Trapp, What's New, Richard Carver, Surgical Wizard, GLO, Tai Matt Chung. Guys, I love y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all are having a wonderful Merry Christmas. We will be doing, actually, I'm going to be doing a show on Christmas Day. You're going to see your boy Joel on Christmas Day. Guys, we got so much things planned for the new year. We got a new logo for TrueLife News coming out next week. We got merchandise for TrueLife news coming out in the first quarter of April, of 2025. I am so excited, guys, and so excited to do this with you. Love you all. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.